There's a lot of different types of cookware out there and a lot of different people marketing healthy cookware. How do we navigate that world? What do you recommend?
Cookware is tricky because we have individual preferences, budget, availability, accessibility. So it is also, with everything else, there's nuance to it. But again, cookware in general, what we want to avoid, number one, first and foremost, the worst type of cookware to get rid of now is nonstick cookware. Nonstick cookware is coated in, again, these PFAS chemicals that we talked about earlier. PFAS chemicals are used in thousands of consumer products because they are highly versatile. They impart a waterproof, a non-stick, non-stain, water-resistant, oil-resistant quality to products that just makes things virtually indestructible, just like the PFAS chemicals themselves. That's why they're called forever chemicals, because they stay around forever. They are so chemically stable that makes them extremely hazardous, because once they enter the ecosystem, once they enter the body, their rate of breakdown and metabolism is so slow. But companies are continuing to churn these things out, and we're continuously exposed. So it's not going anywhere. They bioaccumulate, and that's really the issue. So nonstick cookware, the issue there is, number one, it volatilizes when you cook. So you could be inhaling the vapors and the fumes. If you scratch a piece of nonstick cookware, which, by the way, is very easy to do, if you scratch the coating, it can release thousands of PFAS particles. So PFAS technically are considered a type of plastic. So according to a recent study, there was 9,000 microplastic PFAS particles released into your food just from a single scratch. And I myself personally have used a piece of nonstick cookware with multiple scratches. So who's to say how many PFAS particles I was ingesting? I have no idea before I made the switch. Next, if you crack the coating, then that number increases exponentially. So we really need to look out for that. That's two issues with nonstick cookware. The third issue is the environmental impact. The environmental impact, because once these coatings get scratched, they don't work as well. It's not nonstick anymore. Your eggs don't slide off. You don't, just have to rinse them with water and then, you're on your way. You have to replace them. They get thrown in the landfill. These things don't break down. That's why they are in our air, water, soil. They're in food. They're everywhere. So we need to first stop buying them and stop disposing of them. And then another issue is that you can get transfer of these PFAS chemicals from the cooking material into your food. And then once you scratch it, then the material underneath is exposed to your food. So for example, most nonstick cookware is aluminum coated Teflon, aluminum coated nonstick coated aluminum. And once those scratches happen, your food can come in contact with aluminum. Aluminum has concerns for Alzheimer's, increasing the risk of Alzheimer's.
Obviously, we'd want to avoid aluminum foil then.
Yes, if you can avoid aluminum foil, there are some use cases, right? For example, you're baking some chicken and you don't want it to burn, then covering it with aluminum foil can, help you prevent your food from burning. I'm not saying you have to run and hide from it, but routinely cooking on aluminum is not optimal.
All right, so what do we use?
Several options. My personal favorite, I love cast iron. Cast iron works very well for so many different use cases, but not all. So for example, iron can leach in the presence of acid. So we don't necessarily want to use lemon juice or tomato sauce in a cast iron pot or skillet. But for most cases, cooking eggs, meat, sauteing vegetables, you can use it in the oven, on the stovetop. You can take it, camping with you. It's very versatile, right? It's virtually indestructible. So if you can get into the swing of using cast iron, if you know how to season it and care for it, then it's a great option. And that's something that I've added to my kitchen as well. Stainless steel is another one. Stainless steel is widely available. It's lightweight. Most people can handle it. But again, you have to use it in a certain way to prevent the food from sticking. But once you figure it out, it's not difficult. But there are some cases where people can be sensitive to nickel. And stainless steel can leach nickel and chromium in the presence of acids as well. So if you're having issues with nickel, then you might want to look for nickel-free stainless steel. And that's something that you can look for. If you contact the manufacturer, you can find out that information. But for most people, stainless steel seems to work well. Another option is ceramic. The issue is that ceramic, often people confuse it with ceramic coated cookware. And that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to a solid piece of ceramic, similar to solid gold versus a piece of plated gold jewelry. So with plating or with coatings, the plating is very thin and it is not strongly attached to the metal. And it can actually get rubbed off or scratched off, flaked off over time. And then again, you run into similar issues with the Teflon where you have to replace them. And if it's being scratched, if it's cracked, we don't know if those ceramic coatings are releasing particles into our food. We don't know. There's just not enough study out there on them. But if you're looking into the three main types of cookware, again, cast iron, stainless steel, and pure ceramic, solid ceramic. Those would be my top three.
And then we need to consider what we're using to mix and stir within them, making sure we're not scratching, and making sure that those utensils aren't covered in toxins.
Exactly. A lot of people are using silicone cookware utensils. Silicone is problematic in and of itself because number one, it doesn't biodegrade. It's a man-made polymer as well. Yes, is it better than plastic? Sure. And the benefit that a lot of silicone manufacturers like to make is that it's plasticizer free, and plasticizers are endocrine disruptors, bisphenols and phthalates. So it's plasticizer free. Well, that's great, but they are also releasing cyclic silicones, and these are now under concern, under the watch of the European Food Safety Authority, or EFSA. They have now voiced concerns about this as well. Cyclic silicones that can also have toxic effects. So we want to make the switch. And I understand it might not be a direct one-to-one going from, let's say, a nonstick pan with your silicone spatula, but pick one or the other if you can't do both. Optimally, you would change out the cookware and the utensils. And the better ones would be just wood. Wood would be great. Or metal. You can use metal in stainless steel, and you can use metal in your cast iron as well.
And when it comes to wood, though, there can be different lacquers and coverings that we need to be aware of as well.
Right. You bring up a really good point because you can purchase a wooden utensil, but oftentimes it's coated in some kind of varnish or lacquer. We don't know if that's also being released into our food as we cook, because the factors that increase the leaching and migration of chemicals, this is just a general sort of statement, are heat and acids. So in the presence of heat and acid and fat, which is what is in most of our food, at least some combination of that, you will get some leaching of some sort at some level. We don't know if that's harmful or not, but if you want to choose a better option and you're able to find untreated wood, just bare wood, a bare wooden spoon, then that would be the optimal choice.
And what would you recommend to help preserve that, though, if it's just bare wood?
Yeah, you can actually just rub some of your oil on it. If you're using, let's say, coconut oil, I've used coconut oil on my wooden utensils and I haven't had any issues at all.
What about plates and bowls and things that we're putting the food into after it's cooked? Because mugs, like we're putting hot tea and coffee into mugs that have like a clear finish on it, along with our plates and bowls. Is there anything we need to be wary of in that realm?
There are some considerations to make. For example, we want to avoid putting our food on plastic. Simply because plastic is it's a soft material, it can flake off, it can break, crack, and it will break up into microplastics and nanoplastics. And so we don't want to put food on plastic and drinks. Let's avoid plastic. So what you've mentioned then are, let's say, ceramic plates and bowls. That's what most people are eating off of. There can be some issues there. It just really depends on the manufacturer. So optimally, you could look for a glass bowl or plate. That is the I would say, optimal food contact material simply because it is non-leaching and it doesn't absorb odors, stains. It's pretty versatile other than the fact that it's breakable.
Okay. So for glasses, mugs, plates, bowls, glass is the best. I've often wondered though about that like clear finish that they put on plates and mugs and such.
Generally, though, with those, they're fired in a kiln at high temperatures, so much higher than what we would encounter in our home. So the risk from that type of food contact is low.
If you enjoyed that clip, press here for the full episode. I'll see you over there.
We don't always need to add more. And I think that's the trap that a lot of people fall into. Let me just grab that glutathione supplement and I'm good to go. Well, you're not addressing the root cause. The root cause is your lifestyle. It's really about taking